Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. In my brief time on the Justice Committee, I've seen disaster after disaster roll out under the Justice Minister's stewardship. The outsourcing of translation services resulted in whole cases being abandoned, a huge cost to the court service, and the liberty of individual citizens being put at risk. The MOJ were repeatedly warned that ALS weren't capable of delivering a contract of that size, but those warnings were ignored. Despite the Courts and Tribunals Service forbidding frontline staff from talking to the Justice Committee, the Committee's investigation declared that privatisation not sustainable, even after the intervention of ALS's parent company Capita. The electronic tagging debacle has now required the intervention of the SFO, yet G4S and Serco, who won those contracts, have not been banned from entering bids to run probation. The problems don't stop there, Mr Deputy Speaker. The damning report of the private G4S HMP Oakwood by HM Chief Inspector of Prisons demonstrates the great dangers of putting private profit above prisoner rehabilitation. It's an institution where inmates have died because defibrillators were locked away, where levels of violence and victimisation are high, and the Minister called Oakwood an excellent model for the future of the prison service. Well, Mr Deputy Speaker, we've had a snapshot of that future this week with the sickening images coming out of the G4S-run Mangwin prison in South Africa. Yet G4S will be able to bid to manage the rehabilitation in our communities, and the very sex offender prisoners it did nothing to rehabilitate in Oakwood prison. Mr Deputy Speaker, there is an organisation that has been banned from bidding for these franchises, despite being superbly placed to do so. It is a dedicated, experienced staff. It has over a century of proven results in this area. The latest independent reports have praised its competence, and it continues to work with charities and social investment organisations at every level. That organisation is the Probation Service via Probation Trusts, and there is no greater indication that this is an ideological attack upon the public sphere than that the trusts cannot bid, even those like my own Durham Tees Valley, which was rated as showing excellent performance. The 8,000 low and medium risk offenders it supervises will now be transferred to private providers, unless of course those offenders become high risk again, in which case the Probation Trust will have to pick up the pieces. The justification for forbidding Probation Trusts from bidding for franchises is that they would risk public money because of the PBR system. So the Minister's mechanism for improving standards bans the best practitioner right out of the gate. This Ministry simply doesn't have the skills to deal with the private sector contracts of this magnitude. In evidence to the committee, his own permanent secretary, Dame Ursula Brennan, said the lesson learned from the previous contracting disasters was, and I quote, "When you have something really big and complicated, biting it off in bite-sized chunks is now thought to be a better way of going." Why then is the Minister ignoring that very lesson and proceeding with a radical, hurried and nationwide overhaul? And despite the calls for plurality, the current proposals would allow 21 probation trusts to be run by just 5 companies. These organisations will have to have the financial reserves to wait for payment results payments and the depth to underwrite any potential losses. In other words, Mr Deputy Speaker, there will be the same old cartel: Capital, Serco, A4E, Mighty and G4S. This is not the family silver that's being sold off, it's the foundations of the house. It is madness that the administrative justice, the basic purpose of the nation state, should be sold to the highest, or in this case the lowest bidder. I urge the Secretary of State to look at the trail of calamities this dogmatic pursuit of ideology over evidence has caused, and to reconsider before it's too late. With this latest proposal, the MOJ is not only endangering the public finances, it's endangering the public.